Describing my work is I strive for sort of a meditative effect. When my work is successful, I feel like it's almost like looking at a Rothko painting. It's a very meditative experience. Why do I create it? It's just a need we all have as artists or people. We need to express ourselves, perhaps. Maybe that's the simple answer.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to The Face of Art, the show that brings local artists out from behind the canvas and into the light. Each week, we feature local artists and discuss their passions, their journey to becoming an artist, and their challenges and victories. Our guest this evening is Nantucket's own Billy Sherry. Billy has been on the island since 1976. He studied sculpture at Georgetown University. His sculptures are grounded in tradition of sculptors Gonzalez, Smith, and Kara. He's a founding member of the X Gallery. He is also a member of the Artists Association of Nantucket. Billy shows his work exclusively at the Art Cabinet Nantucket. Join me in welcoming Billy Sherry. Where was the gallery physically? Did you say that already? Where?
Yeah, 12 Orange Street, just directly across from the Unitarian Church.
Okay.
And this wild woman, Margot Gunther, owned it, and she lived on the third floor. And she liked us a lot because, we were kind of crazy and we were just trying to do a good thing. So she gave us a good deal on the rent, and she was very supportive of us. And it had a a good sized backyard with a deck, and we had our openings back there. And the space inside was several rooms. It's an old house, and it worked pretty well. It was a good space.
And there's water views from that property, right? Could you see the harbor from there?
Actually, you can see the harbor. You can from the deck. So, it's on the way up Orange Street before it hits its peak. So, right now it's it's been gentrified. It borders Stone Alley.
Yep.
So that's where it was. That's where it is.
So Art Cabinet, when did that come along? And Dirta? Am I saying her name right?
Yeah. Dirta Neudert had Art Cabinet in Nantucket, and she started down on Union Street, right when it hits town, right in the corner. And she used to come to our openings because she's an amazing contemporary visionary in the art world, especially with abstract work. And she liked what we were doing. She was and is has a remarkable eye, and it comes from a tradition of serious, formal, for the most part, contemporary work. She's not into sort of the avant-garde and the performance art, but she liked that modernist tradition. And she used to come to our openings, and she'd come to the gallery and look around. And when we decided to stop, she asked me to join her gallery, which was and is a huge honor, because she's quite a good gallerist.
She's connected with Storm King? Is that correct? No,
but she's always wanted to get my work down there. So she's been trying to foster my career, and she's really been wonderful for me.
That's great.
Yeah.
And where is that gallery? That's on.
Storm King's a major international sculpture park down on the Hudson, and just above West Point.
Right.
And it's a remarkable place. It's the sculptures are 60, 70 feet. Calder, Mark de Soubreau, major international artists show there. So,
have you met with them?
I've been down there a few times, but we've never, for some reason, she never got, she tried to follow through, but I don't know, it didn't work. That's Kit, that's a major place. So you've really got to be pretty special to be included down there.
In addition to studying sculpture at Georgetown, you studied poetry and creative writing. Is that true?
Yeah, I started as an English major, and I met a magnificent man, Roland Flint, who was a poet in the English department. And he became my mentor. And I realized that I wasn't really into the creative arts when I was in high school. I was an athlete, and my parents always supported whatever I did, but they weren't didn't foster the creative expression or art in me. But so at the time in high school, I was an athlete, and then I got to Georgetown, and Flint introduced me to the world of creative expression, which I realized was me, which I really needed in my life, and I hadn't had before this. And he was a poet, so I became interested. I studied creative writing and wrote a lot, and I still do. And that was a huge thing for me to express myself in that form. And then I met a wonderful teacher, Leonard Cave, at Georgetown, who was a wood carver, and I got introduced to wood carving. And so I started, writing a lot, wood carving. So I did a lot of different creative expressions. And then I finally settled on focusing on sculpture.
Do you do any writing today? Is that still part
Yeah,
of
I write all the time. But, when I got married, I realized I was doing several things not very well. I was in the restaurant business. I was a bartender and a cook. And then I was trying to be a sculptor, and I was writing, and I was married, had a baby, and I realized I got to focus. I got to cut down my focus. So I realized sculpture was a better expression for me because it was physical. It was as writing is not. And it was also a sort of a daytime operation. So it fit in with my life, and the physical part of it was really important for me. I like that, I like that nature, that physical nature. So.
I want to talk to you about a project you're working on now. I'm going to screen share so we can take a look at that. So this project, maybe I'll have you explain it.
Yeah.
When I visited you at the, hang on a sec, I want to show you what's going on in your studio. You want to tell us about the Moby project?
Yeah, it's quite a project. A few years ago, people in Bali built this giant fish. I think you have a photo of it on the beach out of chain link fence and stuff like that. And they built it so people could put plastic bottles in it. And it went viral and became a big sensation. And different countries started doing it, different places. And then 2 years ago, Scott Leonard from the Marine Mammal Association came to me and said, "We want to do one of these ideas here. Would you like to be involved?" I said, "Sure, man, I'll build it." So it took about a year, and then he talked to the people from Worcester Polytech who have a program down here in the fall. And they send a group of students down, and they do some major project through the fall. So they took this under their wing and developed a 110-page thesis on this recycling initiative called Moby. And it's a little more involved than just a big fish and throwing bottles in it. It's got recycling in the middle of the whale. It's got beach trash to be put in the front. And the tail and the flukes are the roof of the bus stop at Surfside Beach. So it's quite involved, and it's the DPW's behind it and the town. So it's a big deal, and we're in the middle of it right now, and it's quite a project. It's a bit daunting, to be honest, because it's the most intense thing I've ever had to do in my shop. And I've got a lot of responsibility getting this thing done. And it is going well. It's a little slower than I had hoped, but it's okay because, I mean, that's the way it is. I'm not putting 10-hour days in. I'm not 28, as I said earlier. So we're going well. I'm pleased.
You're 38 now, right?
Yeah, I think I hit 38 last week.
So looking at this picture of your shop here, I guess this is the center portion where the actual recyclables will go?
Actually, that is the head of the whale, and inside that head are 55-gallon drums, and people can dump in beach trash like rope and wood and whatever they find on the beach. The middle section of the whale, which is behind this, is for recycling.
Okay.
Household waste, bottles, plastic, stuff like that.
So what percentage of, like, how much bigger? What percentage does this represent that you're standing in?
That's 1/3. That's 1/3 of the whale. That's the head. Each section's about 12 feet, so it's 33, 34, 36 feet. So this is the head section. It's about 12 feet.
And where did you already tell? This will be at Surfside. Is that correct?
Surfside? Yeah, Surfside Beach.
Right. You said the Surfside bus stop.
Yeah, parking lot. Yeah.
So how will it get there? Has that been figured out yet?
Yeah, the DPW's got, they've got machines. So once I get this thing going, we'll drag it out of the shop. And part of this whole process has been logistics. First of all, trying to figure out how to make this thing, which, it was a crapshoot. I've never made one of these things. And, the diagrams and stuff were fine, but I still had to figure out how to make it. So once this is done, the first section, I'm going to slide it forward in my shop and build the second section behind it. And then the DPW will come and drag out the first, with their machines. And so I got a lot of help.
Okay. I want to be around for that when it gets moved.
So do I. We like machines. We like big machines.
We'll have to get a convertible and follow behind it, taking photos and.
We're all winging it, to be honest. I mean, we're, as soon as I'm ready, I'll call them and they'll come over and try to figure it out also. So it's a group effort.
I want to follow up on a conversation we had the other day. You mentioned, I guess he's a friend of yours, or at least he was influential, Mark Brule.
Oh, Mark Brule. Well, I was back at Georgetown. I was a wood carver, and when I started up here, I was carving, and I like big stuff. So I was carving, and it was slow. But I mean, this is what I was used to. This is what I was trying to do. And then in the winters, Rima and I would go down to Coral Gables. Rima's mother lived down there, my wife. And Joyce, her mom, would bring us down for many times, several weeks and a month, because if the kids were little, it was, February, and back then nothing was going on up here. So I got to meet a good friend of hers, Mark Brule, who was a steel sculptor and a Frenchman, and we became really close right away. So he taught me, he would say, "Oh, Billy, this wood, this is no good wood. You've got to do steel. It's modern. Let me show you." So he taught me how to cut with a torch and weld, because I would hang out with him all day. I wouldn't, what am I going to do in Miami for 6 weeks? So Mark was fabulous. He taught me a lot and was my good friend. And he passed a few years ago, and it was a terrible thing to lose him. But he has been my mentor for many years because of that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember the rest of the story, but it sounded like you guys are pretty close. I
can tell you a great story about Mark, but it's got one bad word in it, so I guess we can't do that. Is that correct?
I actually don't know the rules. Let's go for it. They can beep it out on the archived version.
Well, I was down there when I first met Mark, and he was a very passionate Frenchman. And he asked me, "Billy, who do you like? Who are your artists? So I said, I love David Smith, and I loved Henry Moore at the time, and I liked Willem de Kooning and Diebenkorn and stuff like that. And I said, and of course, I really do love Picasso. And he goes, oh, Picasso. That Picasso, he's a shit. I said, what? He goes, everything he did was perfect. He ruined it for all of us. I'll never forget it. So that was Mark in a nutshell.
That's great. Have you done any site-specific pieces, or is that most of what you do?
Well, I haven't really done anything specific to a site, but like, see the site first and then make the piece.
I'm not talking about the road, the Mid-Island Rotary either. I'm wondering if there's a beautiful landscape somewhere where you were asked to build something.
No, I haven't, to be honest. I just like to make them, If I had a big commission and someone said, "Can you put a piece here?" And I mean, I've had some talks with people and stuff, and a couple of commissions that fell through just for no reason, that the people they wanted to do a piece in this specific site, and we talked about it. And then it fell through because they had too many other things going on. They couldn't commit to it, which was fine. They're local. Well, they live here and they also live in Los Angeles, lovely people. And so I've never really done a site specific.
So this image that I just brought up, that wasn't built for that site. That's just where it ended up. Yeah,
no, that was, we did a photo shoot years ago. Jeff Allen did these photos. And he said, let's drag this sculpture out to the beach. I want to photograph it out there. It was Jeff's idea. And it really is a beautiful shot. He knew what he wanted, and it was really perfect.
Oh, so this didn't, I guess I would know if it stayed there because I know where it was. But so this was just for the day.
Yeah, that was just for the shoot.
Yeah, I guess that's a silly question again, because I would know exactly where that was if it was still out there. But
yeah, it's right at the beach. It's right at the one beach we have here, that one little beach.
And I'm sorry, I'm trying to get these images to.
Yeah, that's a beautiful shot. Jeff did a great job.
It's kind of the same thing. You brought these pieces around, or do these pieces live there?
I'm sorry, what was that, Kit?
Do these pieces live where they are here, or was this part of the photo shoot?
These are at Dirch's house on Dukes Road.
Oh,
and
okay.
that's where I show my big work. It must be 10, 12, 14 pieces there in her garden. And it's a perfect location for my work, and she's got them sited beautifully. And so these shots you're seeing are at her house, and they're still there. Actually, that one on the left is in New York City. I forgot to tell you, I've got 3 pieces in New York City right now.
The red one here?
That one, no, the one earlier.
Oh boy, hang on.
That's all right. A few years ago, a landscape architect, Gresham Lang, wanted me to put these 3 sculptures in Tudor City Greens in New York City. And those are 2 pocket parks right across from the United Nations. So I've got 3 pieces down there right now, which is a huge event for me, because they're right across from the UN, and hundreds of thousands of people are in this park yearly. And they've been there for 3 years, so I'm really fortunate to have that.
There's one prominent piece you can see on the way to Mattakit, the big red metal sculpture. Whose is that? Yeah,
that's Mark DeSubero. And I love his work. I mean, my I-beam work is influenced by DeSubero, and that's a major piece. I mean, that's the Menschel property, and Richard Menschel's a major collector of contemporary art, and that DeSubero has got probably 10 pieces at Storm King, and he's internationally renowned, and that's quite a piece.
Yeah, it's very significant when you're driving by.
People ask me, is that your sculpture on the way to Mattakit? And I'm telling them, this is like in January. And I said, well, listen, if that was my sculpture, I'd be in the Bahamas right now, because that's like $1 million sculpture. I said I wouldn't be up here. I'd take 2 weeks and go to the Bahamas. I
want to encourage other some of our viewers, if they have any questions, there's a chat box to the right of what you guys are watching. Just put your questions in there. The first question is, am I the only one who can't hear the audio?
Oh no.
Hopefully that's not the case. I hope others can hear it. How do you feel about the contemporary art scene on Nantucket today? Compared to the ex-gallery days. I mean, are you? I'll let you.
It's sort of funny. The last several years, I've been sort of not out of the loop, but I'm less visible, or I mean, I'm not out there as much. I don't go to openings and stuff. I mean, I'm real busy in the summer. I have a very personal connection to the art scene right now in Nantucket because most of my dear friends here, or a lot of them, let's say, are still practicing artists, and many from the old ex-gallery. Catherine Moore, Melissa McLeod, Christine Sanford, Joan Alba, Joanna Kane. I mean, we have a large group of practicing artists that are still in communication with each other all the time. So I do have a large group of friends and in the scene, but it seems like they're not in the scene either. I mean, many of them show with Robert Forster, which is a wonderful gallery. He does a real good job there. And, you know, it's busy in the summer and you got openings and they're really good, but it's kind of a low key thing these days. I don't know how the sales are, you know, I'm not sure. Dirt has been quite good to me, but she's retiring soon anyway. So things have sort of slowed down a bit for me and I think for many of my friends, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know if I'd be a good judge to comment on the art scene because I'm not out there, you know?
Right. So people who have bought your work in the past, are they from Nantucket? Or are they mostly off-island people?
It's a lot of off-islanders. Dirta had a great clientele. A lot of people from Washington, D.C., New York City.
Abby.
I've got pieces in London. I got pieces in Germany. So, you know, she tried to expand, you know, her clientele. And for years, I mean, she was very successful. She was very good at what she did. I mean, as I said, she's retiring soon, so it's on the wane a bit. But when she was practicing, she was quite good and sold a lot of work. Yeah.
And have you done a lot of commissioned work?
I haven't done a lot of commissions. I've done a few. They're hard to do.
What's hard?
Commission down on going towards the Jetties Beach, and my deal with the commission is I tell the people, you know, we talk about it. They give me sort of ideas that they have, and I try to work with them as much as I can, and then I'm going to make whatever I'm going to make that suits me. But you know, trying to go in line with what they might like. And for that one commission, I made something and it was okay, you know, but they didn't like it. So I said, well, I'll just keep trying. So I finally came up with something they liked. So that was a good commission. But you know, commissions are tough because you're dealing with somebody else besides yourself. And part of the attraction for being a working artist is I can do whatever I want. No one can tell me what to do. And that's sort of a nice feeling. And, you know, you've seen my shop. It's a nice space. And, you know, I'm really spoiled in there because I get to do what I want to do. And no one can tell me, you know, you should do this, you should do that. So I think that's one of the things about being an artist. It's attractive to people.
Right. I hear you.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I don't like that photograph. Yeah, Kit, can you change that a little? Yeah.
Well, I can use Photoshop, so.
Yeah, that's cheating.
So you're a private chef. You said you're gonna be busy this summer. Is that chefing, or in addition to the Moby the whale? I understand, but
well, that's the number one priority. Redundant. That's priority right now. is this whale, and that's coming along. It's a little delayed, but it's coming. I have big clients in London who come every summer, and I work with them for 6 weeks as a chef, and they become very good friends, and they're wonderful. They bought a sculpture of mine before they knew me, which was kind of cool, at one of my shows. And I'm not sure what's going on now with the virus thing, so that's all up in the air. But I cook for them all summer for 6 weeks, and then I pick up other clients around them. And cooking is a wonderful thing. I mean, it gives me an income, which is nice. I get a paycheck. But I've got a great tradition of cooking from Nantucket, and it started with Marion Morash at the Straight Wharf restaurant. So that's a whole nother story and a whole nother world where I learned to cook from Marion. And Marion was Julia Child's executive chef on the French Chef TV show, because Russell produced and directed that series, Russell Morash, her husband, for GBH. So Marion taught me how to cook years and years ago, and then and we're still very good friends. So that was a great way to be introduced to cooking, dealing with Marion, who's a very amazing chef. So, but I love to cook. However, if I didn't need a paycheck, I wouldn't do it, because I just cook for myself. But it's a good way to make some money, and I love it. I mean, I love to cook, and it's a social thing. So
Sure.
it covers a lot of ground.
I had another question, actually, about your process. When are these pieces given their names? I'm always curious when artists name their pieces. If it's while it's happening, after it's done and it's sat there.
That's funny you said that, kid. I hate names. I hate them. Yeah. Yeah, I guess you got to have some kind of, name to delineate it from another piece. But
I guess, is sculpture one already taken?
Or 12:15, Tuesday. And my good friend Jeff Otani, who lives here, said, "Billy, you should name your pieces November Rent, December Rent." And see if that helps. But one of my things about names is, and honestly, I hate them, but I do. Some of the names come naturally, and I like that. Well, I'll be making something, and for some reason, it'll take on a name. It'll happen during the process, and that's cool. I like that, because the name means something. Then it's organic. Or someone will comment on like Rima commented on one of my pieces. I always ask her, what should I name it? This is actually the piece going to be at the Rotary next. It's called The Gift. And she says, "That's a gift, that piece." And I'm like, "That's right. It's a perfect name." So once in a while I get lucky with a name, but the reason I don't like names is I like the purely abstract. I mean, I'm an abstract artist. My poetry is abstract, and I like abstraction, and that's what I'm into. And when you name something, you're immediately telling someone where to look. Instead of viewing the piece with no preconceived notions, if you've got a name attached to it, that's a preconceived notion.
Right. They're trying to find that in the.
Yeah. If somebody says, if I say that piece is a gift, they'll try to look for a gift or something. I don't know, but
where's the bow?
They'll come to it they'll go to the name first for their experience with it. And I don't like that. I want them to experience the piece naturally on their own,
Right. Oh, we've got a comment from Lisa Parker in New York, and she says New York City is very lucky to have your work. It sounds
my God, really?
Yeah, and it sounds like she wants a tour of the shop too. Unfortunately, you're not at the shop; you're at home. But I'll.
Oh my God, that's amazing! I am so grateful to hear that.
Well, she has a summer house here. When she comes out, I'll have connect you guys. Show
yeah,
her.
I love that. I mean, I'm very fortunate, obviously, to be there, and the pieces look good in the park. So that's one of the things. Sometimes, you know, a lot of my work is large and outdoor, suited for the outdoors. But sometimes, you know, someone will say, why don't you put a sculpture over there? It looks good. And it'll be like, no, you know, it doesn't need a sculpture. You know, often I don't want my pieces in certain venues outside because, you know, I don't want to ruin the natural environment. But that's lovely to hear that about New York City.
I think we're kind of winding up here in terms of our time. That went by quick. So I definitely, unless there's anything else you want to promote or mention, we'll keep an eye out for Moby.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. I think after I finish Moby, I'm going to be painting a lot. These projects beat the hell out of me, so I might want to go. I wanted to paint anyway before Moby started. I love to paint, and it's a whole nother sense of freedom for me. So I'll probably get back into that. But I've got other sculptures on, you know, I've been working on anyway. So I'm really lucky during this time that I'm able to work. I mean, I work alone, I live alone, so I'm quite fortunate to have this to do.
Cool, that's great. Well, thanks very much. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you. And again, I look forward to seeing Moby out at the out at Surfside. So I'll say thank. Can you do a chair spin for us for your exit?
There goes the phone.
Thank you, Billy.
Wow, man.
Take care. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Always a treat to have you guys here as well as our artists. Our guest next Thursday is Stefan Kuhn from Nosara, Costa Rica. He's a fascinating Swiss artist who has lived in Costa Rica for 26 years. So be sure and catch him live next week. Huge thank you to my friends at NCTV. Without their behind-the-scene efforts, this show would not be possible. I'd also like to thank my art advisor, Jane, for making me look much smarter than I am about the art world. So anyway, we'll see you next week, and support your local artists. Take care.